Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, your water, your Pepsi, your soda pop, whatever it is that you're drinking this morning. Sit back and let's chat about what is going on up in the stars this morning. We're also going to talk about human design today, as there's some interesting things happening there as well. So let's see how everybody's doing. I hope everybody had a great day yesterday. Things are moving along pretty well for me yesterday. I thought I was tired, so I sat down in my chair and the cat crawled up on my lap. 90 minutes later, I woke up. I must still be trying to catch up from my cruise. I don't know, maybe time zone, jet lag. I have no clue. But even my husband was amazed when I said, "Oh my God, I fell asleep for 90 minutes." He's like, "You never do that." And I never do. And it's not that I was feeling ill or anything. I just thought, "Oh, I'm really tired." So I laid back, and before I knew it, 90 minutes had gone by. Whoa. So, yikes. Let's see what is happening today. You know what's interesting about that too is that I had just gone through what is my personal new moon. When the moon is in Virgo, my natural moon is in Virgo, or my natal moon is in Virgo. So it's like your new moon. So your energy, you get a boost. But apparently I'd been boosted too much and I needed some rest. So luckily I had the time and the space yesterday to be able to do that, because apparently I needed it. I'm feeling much better here today. Let's see who we have out here. Colleen, good morning. I'm loving your monthly membership. I was able to figure out where Jupiter is transiting all on my own. Woot, woot. This is awesome. I am in the process of writing more content for that, so keep watching for that as well. Good morning, Rebecca. It's good to see you. And Vanita, good morning. Mimi, good morning to you. And wow, let's dive in, shall we? So early this morning, likely while you were maybe on the East Coast, you guys were up, but while I was sleeping, the moon moved out of Virgo and into the sign of Libra. And it is then putting itself in an opposition to the planet Mercury, as Mercury has also moved late last night, my time, 11 o'clock in the evening. And so would that be 2 in the morning for you all? Let's see, 11 to 12, 1, 2. Yes, 2 in the morning for you all on the East Coast. Mercury moved out of Pisces and into Aries. And that shifts the energy pretty dramatically, actually, because Mercury in Aries is much more talkative, is quicker, is more direct and quick thinking, right? And very decisive. So right now we have shifted our energies a bit with Mercury to become much more able to say what we mean and say it in a very direct way. Now, that is a good thing in most times, but this can, with Jupiter in Sagittarius, create a bit of a situation where we talk first, think later, right? Or where we take action in the wrong way. Not according to our type and our strategy, if you will, for a human design setup. So we want to be very careful here, because Mercury itself is already the planet of communication. It rules the mind, and Mercury is ruling the sign of Gemini. So the mind is quick already. There's that edge already with Mercury. Now you put it in Aries, which is a very direct sign, adventurous and bold, pioneering even. It takes action first and then thinks later. So you might see that we have maybe particular people with issues not thinking things completely through before they take action on something. Spontaneous action, in other words, or spontaneously speaking things. So we want to just be careful, because we don't want to, hurt people's feelings. We don't want to run all over them. And I want you to remember that yesterday, Mercury moved into the gate 25, and gate 25 is a gate that is all about love, universal love, and acceptance, right? Acceptance of one another, acceptance of situations the way they are. And certainly then we don't want to go around telling other people they're wrong, or they're not thinking properly, or, you know how sometimes you just want to say something to someone, maybe out of frustration or upset or anger. Maybe they're moving too slow and you get angry. So likely this might play out in traffic, right? Because Mercury also rules transportation. So I might think that there would be some incidences of road rage, or of impatient drivers that inadvertently cause accidents when they dart out into traffic or move quickly. So just keep this in mind. Mercury will be in Aries from April 17th today to May 6th. So it's not a long period of time, but it's a period of time that I think in the short run can create a lot of chaos for some people. And of course, that really depends on your own personal chart. So for example, I was thinking about it in terms of my own chart. Aries in my chart straddles the ninth house and the 10th house. So I'm in the ninth house is the house of expansion and growth, and the 10th house is the house of career and profession. So I'm going to be very careful that I don't overestimate the time it takes me to do something, or how much I can actually do in terms of my career, or the work that I do. If you have it in your money house, you may want to be very careful about how much money you spend. Or if you delve into a project that you expect is only going to cost you $1,000, it may indeed end up being more. So you want to be very careful how quickly you jump into something. Kind of take your time and explore all your options. Think before you speak. Dial down the reactionary energy for the next few weeks, right? Also, let's speak to decision making, because decision making here is rather quick. You're thinking quicker. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Thinking quick doesn't necessarily mean anything's wrong. It just means you maybe can view various options and see them and calculate through them in a quicker pace. But you have to remember your basic type and strategy from your human design before you make decisions, especially if you are emotionally defined. I'm going to show you real quickly where the emotional center is on a human design chart. This is today's human design chart. I pulled this up. Here is the emotional center, right? If you have this colored in, like this is brown or goldish color, if you have that colored in your chart, you are emotionally defined. You are not designed to make spontaneous decisions, no matter what. No matter what planet is doing what in the sky, you are not here to make quick decisions. You are here to make decisions with clarity over time. Clarity over time. That means you do not act in the moment. So if you're looking at your own human design chart and you see that center defined, you know that this might be a difficult time for you because you may want to make decisions quickly. All right. You may feel like, yeah, that's a great decision. And you do it because the energy's there and available for you to do it. And then sometime later, you may be going, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Right. You don't want to do that. Now, let's see what people are saying here. Linda, I'm here until painters arrive for the second day of work, and I am evicted to the carport. Or, go to a friend's house or go to a restaurant, Linda, or someplace where you could sit for a while. Good morning, Vicki Clark. Good morning, Asa. It's beautiful to see you as well. So thank you for joining us this morning. Let's talk a little bit more then about what the moon in Libra is doing for us today. The moon, when it transits through the sign of Libra, puts focus on our relationships. How are we getting along? And to me, it puts emphasis on the 3 C's: co-creation, cooperation, and possibly codependence. Like, where am I caught up in this energy of codependence? And let's make them all positive: cooperation, co-creation, and coordination, right? Where we are working together to get things done, where we create win-win situations. That's what Libra is really all about, right? Libra can see the energy of fairness and justice like no other sign. And if things are out of whack, if they seem unfair, then Libra energy will react to try to bring things back into balance. Note that Libra is the opposing sign to Aries. So in some cases, this Mercury moving into Aries while the moon is moving through Libra can really trigger us in our relationship. So you're going to want to be very careful with those you love, because it may be playing out in that realm, in your relationship realm. And don't forget, the full moon on Friday is at the 29th degree, the karmic degree of Libra. So we want to make sure we don't hurt our relationships. And I'm going to give you an extreme example of that. Maybe you're having trouble with someone in your life, a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a roommate, or someone, and you just tell them, get out of my life. Right? You tell them, get out of my life. You're in my way. You are, you're disrupting me, etc. And then they take you up on that and they leave you. Well, a few days from now, you may be going, oh man, I really blew that, right? You don't want to become you don't want to be at the receiving end of things that you didn't intend to happen because you knee-jerked or reacted to something bad in a bad way. That axis technically can be the axis of love and war. And I'm speaking of Aries Libra. So it could be a battle of words, a battle of wills, a battle within relationships. So why succumb to that? Instead, take the high road, right? Keep your mouth shut. If you can't say something nice, don't say something at all. And recognize that some people are not as aware as you are, perhaps, of what is happening, what the energies are. Maybe they're not listening to the show in the morning and finding out what is going on. And so they get caught up in that energetic signature unknowingly, unwittingly, and they strike out, right? They hurt you or they hurt others. And it can cause the snowball effect of stuff that happens that no one really intended. So you knowing this is possible can take the moral high road, if you will, and try to keep things as calm and cool and in cooperation, using diplomacy, being tactful. If you have to, just biting your tongue so you don't say things that might hurt somebody else's feelings. And if your own feelings get hurt by someone's irresponsible use of words, let's say, then walk away. Just until the things simmer down, right? Things will return to normal. And it may not be any of those negative things that happen. There may be great interplays of conversation going on with people. So we express, of course, across a bandwidth of frequency. So we can express from the high side or we can express at the low end of the frequency. Your choice. Each person has their own choice as to how they're going to express this energy. Okay. Good morning, Patricia Woods. Good morning, Natasha. She says, yes, in my day job, the kids are all speaking out and their actions are all not for the greater good. Schools full of kids are such a teller of what the planets are doing. Anybody want to go to work for me, she says. LOL. So definitely that's true because kids they don't have as many filters as we do as adults, right? There's very few filters and they may be expressing at the very basic energy level, which for this is spontaneity and direct speaking, being sort of spontaneous in their actions and in their words. And that can sometimes, make for hurtfulness. So we're going to be watching this for the next couple of weeks while Mercury makes various connections. In fact, the next connection that Mercury makes, where did I see that? I know what I was thinking. It wasn't so much Mercury making a connection. It was that on Monday, Earth Day, the Sun conjuncts Uranus and add some more energy of spontaneity, of awakening, of surprises to the mix. So even that still falls in that window of Mercury being in Aries. So there may be some unexpected things that come up. Certainly the burning down of the Cathedral of Notre Dame was a surprise, right? I don't know where that came from. I would maybe sometime today I'll take a look at, because I saw the timing of the fire, and I suppose I could probably do up a chart for the timing of that fire and see what things were at play here. What was all of that meaning? Because it isn't obvious to me, except that, Jupiter being in Sagittarius, it rules things like churches and synagogues and cathedrals and all of our places of worship or faith. So, and Sagittarius being fire, but there would have to be something else, a catalyst to that, to get things moving as quickly as it did. That tells me about Mars. Mars is in Gemini, the two spires. but there's 3 spires. I don't know. Anyway, I might check that out for you and come back and let you know what is going on with that. Okay. So today in human design, the sun and earth make a change from the gates they've been in to the gate 3 is where the sun will be, and the gate 50 is where the earth will be. And so that means now I'm going to show you those gates first so you have an idea of where they are. And let's take a look at this chart here. This is the morning's chart for human design. So the gate 50, where Earth is sitting, is right here on the point of the spleen. It's pointing in toward the sacral. And it is completing a channel. You can even see I wrote Earth here. If I move that in just a little bit more, there you go. You can see Earth and gate 50. And it is making a completion to the channel here at gate 27 because Uranus is sitting at 27. So this entire channel is defined. Now in human design, this particular channel is the divine feminine or the feminine energy. It's feminine tribal energy, tribal meaning community energy or the energy of a nation perhaps, but this is tribal, right? Where we take care of one another. And this is the masculine tribal energy over here. It starts at the gate 59, the gate of sex and creativity and fertility or reproduction. And it ends over here at the gate 6, which is impact. And so we have the feminine energy being highlighted right now. That complete channel is called the channel of preservation. So whether or not you have these gates defined in your own human design chart, you are now defined here, every one of you. And that means then that whether you have an open or defined spleen, it's turned on now. Your spleen is defined right now. And also for those of you who are manifestors or reflectors or projectors, you now also have a defined sacral. And that can be a problem for the 3 of you types because you don't normally have access to that kind of energy. And now you suddenly have access to sustainable life force energy. It isn't necessarily yours, though. So you 3 types may feel like you've just gotten a B12 shot, right? You have this injection of energy coming in. And it is the energy of nurturing. The energy in this channel, which is, by the way, called the channel of preservation. This is where I always tell you that this is the channel that shows you in proof positive just about here, that the feminine energy is the energy that is the glue that holds the tribe together, right? Preservation, preserving the values, the laws, the rules, the life of the tribe. And by that, kind of energy, then this is about the love of family and the love of the tribe. It is love energy in its most protective and in its most nurturing. It is also the energy of responsibility and nurturing. So here's where we cook for, we care for, we teach, we love, we discipline, we make people responsible for their own selves. So it is the feminine energy whose job it is to lay down the laws and the rules and the guidelines and the values from which a society will function. Think about that for a moment, right? It's the feminine that tells the masculine how it is that they want them to go about making these things so, right? Jean-Luc Picard, make it so, make it happen. So the feminine says, make it happen along the line of guidelines, values, taking care of, nurturing, being responsible. What are the laws and the rules? What are the tribal values? And, you could look at this almost like, we have this thing called the Constitution, right? It was a declaration, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. It was a declaration of the values from which this society was going to function. The problem is those things were laid down by the masculine, not the feminine. The feminine wasn't asked about what they wanted in this, right? It was a time where patriarchy was at its highest, its most powerful. And so here we have matriarchy, and we had a patriarchal access to that information when it should have been the other way around. It should have been the women saying, our children get fed, our children have clothes, we are not going to kill one another. We have rules, about what happens when things go wrong, and you carry that out for me. Right? That's the way it's meant to be. Unfortunately, we've got that backwards. So this channel of preservation for the next 7 days, six days, is in effect. Now, there's always a high side and a low side, a high frequency and a low frequency in a channel or in a gate. So it functions across a bandwidth, right? We talk about that, where there's this frequency and you can express along any of the lines of frequency here. The highest level frequency in this gate, or in this channel, is love, right? It is the love energy of caring for one another, right? It is that compassion, and that you think about whenever this country, or any country. So I mean, if you're European, you've seen this. If you're Australian, you've seen this in your own countries. If you're Asian, you've seen this in your own countries, where a devastating event occurs, and the outpouring of love and support and compassion from your fellow humans is huge. You can feel it, right? That is the natural way that we are meant to be toward one another. That is what is embodied by the word love in this channel, when we take care of one another, not because of anything, any disaster, but because of the basics of love energy. Unfortunately, humanity, we've become so individuated, which is a part of our path. This isn't a wrong thing. It's not a wrong turn that we took here. This is just a process of which we will come back together in understanding this kind of community, tribal energy, and that energy that holds it together, which is the energy of love. At the lower frequency, we have the energy of codependence, right? We also have the energy of over nurturing. The note that the gate 50 sits on the spleen, and the spleen, remember the corner here of the spleen, this piece right over here, the spleen is the center for time, intuition, survival. And in that very survival energy is the possibility of expressing it as fear. The fear at gate 50 is that you're going to fail in your responsibilities to your family, your tribe, or your loved ones. In doing so, you can become over nurturing. You can become the smother mother, right? The one who's just so, worried about about your safety, about whether you're fed or not, about whether you have enough, that they overdo it. So we may be playing, between these extremes. So be very watchful of that over the next 7 days. You may come face to face with places where you've become codependent with somebody in your life. You may find that, or maybe your kids or your husband or somebody in your life shows you where you've become over nurturing, where you've become, you're crossing a line into that smothering kind of energy. So we want to watch out for that for at least the next 7 days. Oh, good. So Rebecca says, I read an interesting astrological post about the Notre Dame fire. If you want to, or anybody else wants to dig into it. So she's listed a link here. Thank you so much. I love it. Mimi, interesting tidbit. Notre Dame sits on the old location of a temple to Jupiter / Zeus. Jupiter and Zeus, same god, different name. Sky god, very powerful. Michelle Gay, good morning to you. That's great information. Thank you, Rebecca, for posting that. That's awesome. So I can't wait to read that. So maybe I'll read that today. You guys read it if you get a chance, and we can talk about it tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe Friday. So because tomorrow, don't forget, is our 9 o'clock broadcast, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. And we are going to be talking to Pia and Cullen. Their last names just went out of my head, and I moved the book to the other room. Pia and Cullen. Is it on the calendar? Orleans. Oh, maybe I just never told you their last name. Her last name's Orlean. And they're going to be talking to us about Pleiadian astrology, which I'm guessing is the same system that the Maya had. and used in their astrology. In fact, the Maya told us through their writings that their astrology and their calendar was given to them from star people. And what you may get, what you want to bet that the star people were the Pleiadians. That's what my guess is. That's what the Pleiadians seem to imply. In fact, I think they may even out and out say that in the transmissions that Pia and Colin receive from them. So I'm really excited to talk to them tomorrow, and that'll be at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. So we won't have this morning show, and we won't have the 4 o'clock Ascension and Astrology show. Ascension and Astrology will be at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So I'll be setting that up here a little bit later, and I'll make sure everybody has that link. Okay. Any questions about 5027 or the gate 50 or the gate 27 or the channel of preservation, the energy of feminine tribal, anything like that? If you have questions, please feel free, type them in there. And Rebecca, thank you so much, if I didn't say that already, for listing that link for us. That's exciting. I'm glad someone did that. That's not my forte. It isn't my forte to do that, but there are astrologers out there whose sole job is to look at these events and put them into perspective for us astrologically. And, I wish that was my forte. It is not. So I love it when other people do post that kind of information. All right. Now, I want to talk about another channel that has become defined in our human design charts. And I know some of this is new for you, because I know, like, for instance, Linda, you had mentioned a couple of days back that you still don't really have a good, grip on human design. And some of you may be feeling confused about human design. I would encourage you to just listen and relax and just, you will learn this. This is just like if this was the first few days of you hearing about astrology, right? And all the planets and the houses and the aspects that they make with one another, and the zodiac signs. I mean, that would be very confusing. We're probably a little more familiar with that because it's been around longer. Human design is newer. It only made its debut on this planet in the mid 80s. And so it isn't so, vastly studied yet. And so it is new. So we're all sitting at the crux of this new, astrology. And, those of us who've been studying it for a while understand it more than you all do, but we're still watching it play out and we're still learning about it. So you're not that far behind anybody else at this point in time. So if you're feeling lost, you're in good company. So my job is to help you try to understand it. But again, it's a vast subject. So take bite-sized pieces. If you do not understand what I'm talking about, ask questions, right? Ask questions. I'm going to put my email up here again because I think maybe you guys could do that in email, livingastrology111@gmail.com. That is how you can. Yes, that says the right thing. Didn't look right at first. That is how you can send me questions if you don't want to write them here, or if you're listening to this broadcast later on either Blog Talk Radio or picking up the video on YouTube later, feel free to email me your questions about human design. And if it's a personal question, I'll do my best to answer that question for you. But sometimes the best way to get your questions answered about your personal human design is to get a reading. There are 2 or maybe even 3 options for you to get a human design reading. One is the very basic 3 keys to unlocking the power of your human design. It is a $99 reading. The next up is more comprehensive. It is a human design. It's your first human design reading, is I believe the name of it. It's $199. It is a 2-session reading, because often we don't get to complete everything. So we do a follow-up session that allows you to ask questions and allows me to catch up anything that we missed during the first reading. The third kind is an astrology human design combination reading. It is really intense. It is $225, but it marries the two systems together in a way to help you see where your life is going, at the same time giving you the tools to make good decisions for yourself. And you can find those readings on my website, which is www.living-astrology.com. I hope you guys will take me up on that. Knowing yourself is huge, right? Knowing how you make decisions in these trying times, how you make decisions that are correct for you is huge, right? And something that I hope you guys will take me up on. All right, so let's talk about this other channel. This other channel that we are talking about today is emotional. Let's see. I got to see where I am here. Is everybody okay with the email address here? Livingastrology111 at gmail.com. If you have questions, that's where you can address them with me. I mean, livingastrology111 at gmail.com. Oops, I almost hit end broadcast. That is not what I want to do. Let me hide that so you guys can see the chart. I'm going to hide my name here. Okay, so what I want you to look at now is this channel that is making it from the emotional center over here all the way up to the throat center. So for those of you who are not emotionally defined, suddenly you are. And for those of you who have an open throat, meaning this is white in your chart, you suddenly have a defined throat. And it's being connected by this channel where it starts at the gate 36 on the emotional solar plexus and moves up to the gate 35 in the throat center. And this is the channel that's called transitoriness. This is a channel of change. It is a channel of exploration and experience. It is highly experiential, mostly because this is a channel. Remember, we talk about how there's a high side expression and the lower side expression. Well, this is a channel that is creating crisis and chaos from boredom. So this channel is experiential. And for those of you who have a third line profile, you know what I'm talking about, right? Everything about the third line profile is getting the next experience. It's not about completion. It's not about success. It's not about failure. It's about the experience. Did I go out and experience something? Well, this channel mimics that, right? So anybody who has a profile line 3 and a channel defined by, gate 36 and 35, experience is huge in your life. So this in the negative is about the crisis or the chaos that one creates when you are bored and restless, right? Boredom and restlessness that creates chaos because you just strike out to do something to relieve the boredom. It reminds me of people, that just say or do things like Aries, right? Aries, who just like throws out the golden apple at the wedding because she wasn't invited. And so she's just creating chaos, right? That is the kind of energy that is in the lower expression of this channel. The highest expression of energy here is the emotional expression of change with clarity over time. So the emotional expression of change with clarity over time. In other words, I don't just go out and do just for the sake of doing, just to upset the apple cart or to relieve my boredom. I'm deliberate here. I'm following my emotional self. I'm following my feelings, and I'm doing things, taking action with clarity over time. It means I don't just go out today and decide to upend my whole entire business, that I'm going to consider this, right? I'm going to look at all the angles. I'm going to keep checking in with myself. How does this feel? Does this feel good? Is it making me happy? Do I feel excited when I think about this or doing this? And I'm going to keep taking my temperature, if you will, over the next several hours, including 24 of them, right? You want to sleep before you make big decisions during this time. So some of you who have open emotional centers and are used to making spontaneous decisions are going to find yourself at odds with perhaps the need to have emotional clarity. You may feel a little bit like you've made the wrong decision after you make it. And, add that to Mercury in Aries, quick thinking, quick action, quick words, you may begin to regret the energy of doing something without thinking first. Right. So it makes it directly to the throat. So the emotional action here goes right to the throat. It's communication and manifestation. And we want to be careful about this. We want to explore and we want to experience. But if there's a major change in what it is that you're doing, you need to consider it first, right? Sleep on it. Get a feel for it first. Read the compass of your emotions before you take that action. So some of you may, the gate 36 itself is the one that creates chaos and turmoil. I think in the gene keys, we call it turbulence, where there's that restless energy. And you know how it is to be restless, restless and bored. And what do? Well, we just do things sometimes out of that boredom, just to relieve boredom that are not necessarily in our best interests. I've done it. I'm sure I've done it in my life. I'm sure you all done it in your life somewhere. So take your time, check in with your emotional body. Does this feel good? Is this correct for me? In other words, don't just be spontaneous, right? Those of you who were born with this spontaneous now have access to more emotional energy. So this might feel newer to you, right? Because you're tuning in to, how does this make me feel? Does it make me feel good? And keep asking yourself that. Why? Because the emotional energy rolls in waves. It has a high and it has a low. And then it comes back to a high and it goes back down to a low. It's like waves on the ocean. And if you're not used to tapping into that wave, then this is going to be a completely new experience for you. You may enter into that wave at the high point, and you may feel like, yeah, that's great. I want to do that. And then, 12 hours later, you've entered into this low wave, and you may feel a little bit like you've been sucker punched, right? This isn't what I meant to do. This isn't, why did I say yes, etc. Right? So being careful with this energy of transitoriness for the next week. By the way, the planets sitting here are Mars at the throat center and Venus down at the emotional center, masculine and feminine. So we're having to balance the energy of receptivity and doing, right? So receptivity, Venus, and doing, Mars. Action, Mars, and reception, Venus. So this will last at least another few days, as we have Venus will be the first to move out of this area. But at least for the next few days, tapping into your emotions before you make decisions. I hope everybody understands that. Michelle, gay, yay, LOL. I'm not sure what that was about. Probably something about this energy. So any questions? You guys are quiet. Maybe I'm talking too much. Nah. Okay, that's it for me. I don't have anything else to share with you today. Let's see. Nope. Nope. We're good. So I will likely be publishing an article on the full moon, because the full moon will have already occurred on Friday morning by the time I come on air. So I want to let you know ahead of time what to be looking out for. Don't forget Thursday, 9 a.m. or noon, your time, East Coast time, to join in on the astrology, or the Pleiadian astrology interview with Pia and Cullen. So I'm really excited. I know some of you told me yesterday you're really excited about that too. Have an open mind, because I got to tell you, the astrology for both the Mayan and Pleiadians was linked to their calendar. It's not like our calendar that has all of these days that are very mechanically contrived. These are days that they lived and breathed in. The calendar is completely different. Oh, and I was going to tell you guys, for those of you who join in, hold on. I've been sitting here on this. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to run this, but for those of you who tune in tomorrow, who we can see, you're going to have to interact with us in the chat, right? We're going to put your names in for a drawing for your own copy of the Pleiadian Earth Energy Calendar for 2019. This is a beautiful calendar. I have one sitting up on my wall. And well, here, let me show you the back of it, because you can see what the different pictures are for the different months. and it's just beautifully done, but it's a different calendar. Let's just take a look at April, and you can see that it doesn't run. It's set up to look like the Gregorian calendar, but you can see it's aligned differently, right? There are 13 days and 20 signs. So we have a completely different setup in this calendar. So let's see, today is, what is the date today? 17th. So the 17th is an 11 day of loving. So let's look at the back of the calendar because it tells you what more about that, more about those energies and what they mean. So the 11 is the earth energy. Is that right? Yep. Nope. Loving. Okay, so the earth energy of today is loving, and that is about being enthusiastic and productive. And the negative or the inappropriate response is about competition and becoming aggressive, right? So love is enthusiastic and productive. On the more negative side, it is competitive and aggressive. And the 11 is the number of illuminating. It brings light to help us see more clearly. And so those are just real quick energies for that day, but they will be telling us more about that tomorrow. So here's a saying: self-regulating energy. Time as you perceive it does not exist in the cosmos. Time is circular if it exists at all. Its spiraling energies take you from one point to another. Love it. So again, connect with us tomorrow. Saying hi even in the chat is going to get you a copy of the Pleiadian Earth Energy Calendar in a drawing. Okay. I hope they make a calendar app one day. I would bet that they would do that, because why not? Right? I mean, I have it's not an app on my phone anymore. It's an app on my computer that is a Mayan calendar app. Tells me what day of the Mayan calendar we're in and what part of the cycle that we're in. And I would bet they'll tell us about that. You guys, you should bring that up to them tomorrow, Rebecca. Colleen, woohoo! I love contests. Yay! And of course, they will also tell us where you can get if you don't win the calendar, they will tell us where you can get your own copy of their book and the calendar. So, you're not losing. It's just a matter of whether you win a calendar or you buy one. But I would say it's an excellent choice to make, to buy one if you don't win one. Okay. That is it for me. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to go back to writing my little heart out here. And I will see you tomorrow morning again at 9 o'clock from Cornelia's house, where we do our Ascension and Astrology broadcast. Tomorrow, our guests are Pia and Cullen, talking about the Pleiadian Earth Energy Calendar. So I'm excited. See you all tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.